Welcome everybody to yet another Coffee Time with Hako, the show where I have my morning coffee and I yap off into the void. Well met. Today we're gonna talk about something fun. We are gonna be talking about void hunters. So first and foremost, what is a void hunter? The title void hunter is given to certain individuals by the mayor of New Eridu, someone we recently been in contact with in the story, and this title is given to individuals who have, like, in some way, shape or form, greatly contributed to the suppression of hollows. You know, the big scary-looking thing where Ephraim's lives. And across time, they've kind of been, like, widely influential, and they are labeled as, like, hunters of the disaster and defenders of the city being New Eridu. And currently in the game, we have one void hunter, and that is Miyabi. I'm sure you've all heard of her. But apart from Miyabi, like, what other void hunters are there? And if I remember correctly, Miyabi is, like, the youngest void hunter, and she's like the current generation's void hunter. So like this is not a title just, you know, handed out by the dozen. Like the void hunters are a very, very like small elite group, and by the looks of it, like not too many of them are like active at once. And I'm not sure if there's any like official confirmation exactly how many of them are alive, but the kind of general consensus in the community is that most of them are dead. And this has had people like asking like are we getting more void hunters? And I would say to that, absolutely, 100 billion million % we are gonna get more void hunters. Because games like Zenless on Zero, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Wuthering Waves, like any sort of gacha game really, like almost all of them have like this one like elite group of units that's gonna like create more hype and that are usually like generally better than any other character. And from a marketing and from like a hype standpoint, it is like very good, like sensible business strategy to like have this like top of the line gang. And we see this like across other fiction. We see it in Bleach with, you know, the captains and the espadas. We see it in Naruto with the Akatsuki. Genshin has their archons. Honkai Impact has their, what's it called, Heresians. Honkai Star Rail has their emanators, and we in Zenless, we have the void hunters. So for the first question, are we getting more void hunters? Definitely, 100%. So that leads us like onto the next stop, and this is where kind of the paths like branch off from each other. Either one, we get like currently alive void hunters, which, you know, makes probably the most sense. Although we don't know the official number, like how many are alive. At least I don't. If you know, please slap it in the comments. So like that's one. Other alive void hunters. Number two, future void hunters. So as we progress through the story, especially since the mayor is getting involved, chances are that like other individuals are going to be promoted like into void hunters. Hopefully Corin. So that is one way to bring in void hunters, like newly freshly baked ones. And then we have the third path, deceased void hunters, or presumably deceased void hunters. One of the most hyped trailers that this game has ever put out, and they put out many, is the Void Hunter trailer. I think it might even have come out like prior to the game, but like very close to release. That shows off a bunch of different characters, and they all look insanely cool. And to me, that trailer is nothing but a drip trailer. If we are not in one shape or form getting at least half of the characters they're showing off there, I'm gonna be incredibly surprised. To me, that was just one big drip marketing. And the counter argument I've seen, like, you know, against that we're getting any of them is that they're all basically presumed dead. Lady Sunbringer presumed dead, I think. And like most of the other bunch as well. So a lot of people just write them off there. But, like in a dystopian kind of sci-fi world that Zenless is, that doesn't really mean too much. And especially not now that we have like cloning into the mix. And we have the version 2.0 coming up ahead very soon. What Hoyo usually likes to do whenever it's on like an anniversary, it's give us, you know, one from the elite squad. Genshin, we usually get an Archon. Honkai Star Rail, there's usually an Emanator evolved. So it would make a little bit of sense if, you know, we got a Void Hunter for the anniversary. Now, they did release Miyabi in the 1.4, so although she was originally intended to be on the standard banner, like at release, but then got pulled and released as like her own banner. So chances are, if they had always planned to give us a Void Hunter 2.0, that will still be happening. Otherwise, it might be a little bit, you know, too soon to give us another Void Hunter. Maybe. And this is gonna be a little bit of like story spoilers, so like if you haven't done them, skip ahead a little bit. And especially for like the zombie agent story. Now in this patch, they leaned heavily into, you know, cloning. And at the very end of the zombie agent story, Zombie has the option to like either basically burn the technology down or leave it be, and we don't get to see her choice. From the perspective of like, what I would guess that Ambi does is that she burns it down. But we don't get to see that. And I feel like if she had gone down that route, it would have also been more impactful, like had we seen that. So potentially, like this entire program that, you know, created all of these like Ambi clones is still functioning, is still available, and can be used for other stuff. Like, I don't know the intricate details, like, you know, how could they find Prince Zombie? Is it enough to, you know, just have a piece of her hair? If so, would finding, you know, scraps or like, you know, piece of clothing from the old Void Hunters, like, would that be enough to maybe replicate a Void Hunter? Even if it wasn't, you know, even at full strength. Like, I think even like some of the prime ones at like half strength would still be very, very good units. So what I'm trying to say is basically we have a game set in a universe where I don't think that death means too much. Because they have gone down like the Marvel and like the sci-fi route. So like, if they want something to happen, they can justify it either with magic, which is the Hollows. The Hollows are basically magic. And they are somehow like interconnected with each other. So if I'm understanding correctly, we could potentially enter a Hollow here in New Eridu and end up on Hollow on the moon. And I also do think that at some point in some patch we are going to the moon. But the Hollows are basically magic. So we have magic, and then we also have the technology. Like, we have technology sophisticated enough to, you know, clone people. So the giant drip trailer that we got back in the day, like those characters being mostly dead. Because if the devs want to bring those Void Hunters like into the game, put them on banners, they have like given themselves all the tools to do so. And for a lot of it, especially this like focus on cloning that we got in this patch, I think it is to justify like bringing them back. And I simply can't see them putting on a trailer like they did if we're not getting a bunch of those characters. I could of course be wrong, but if I had a bag of money, that's where I'd put it. And you know, that doesn't, you don't necessarily rule out that we're getting Void Hunters, you know, in any other way. Like I said, other currently alive ones or, you know, future ones, Corin, Piper, they have so many ways to like bring them in. They could even, you know, do time travel, because most of our story takes place in magic pimples where basically everything is possible. So yeah, everybody, that's my 2 cents on whether we're getting Void Hunters or not. I know it's one of the questions I get asked like the most during my live streams, like, oh, how good you think Void Hunters Scooby-Dooby? And quite the fact, I do think Void Hunters Scooby-Dooby. So let me know down in the comments, do you think that we're getting the old Void Hunters that we saw in that trailer? And if that is the case, which one would you be most excited about? Actually, which one would I be most excited about? I think Lady Sumringer looks cool. Also like that trio squad that has the pink-haired chick. She looks kind of cool. And is it the guy to like the right that looks like really big and beefy? Looks like a defense agent. I could kind of be interested in him as well. So let me know what you think down in the comments. And thank you once again for watching Coffee Time with Hako, the show where I yap off into the void. And if you like Zenless Zone Zero content, remember to subscribe to the channel because I put it out every day. And if you want to support the channel but also pick up like a little bit of swag for yourself, make sure to check out the merch store where we now have an official Sons of Caledon design available on a bunch of stuff, even coffee cups. So you bet your ass that I've ordered it and it's on its way here. And more designs coming. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy your coffee, and Hako out.